Greetings everyone, my name is Jonathan Bailey. I am from the website Plagiarism Today, which can be found at plagiarismtoday.com, and today is time for that weekly column, the 7 and 7, where I get to spend hours every week reading and reviewing and knowing all the copyright news there is to know, and then I give it all to you in 7 minutes, because life just isn't fair sometimes. But anyways, general rules. We have a timer here. When I start talking copyrighty stuff in just a few moments, that timer will start. When that timer stops, hopefully with less than 000 on it, we will have finished 7 stories, and you will have a recap of the week in copyright news. Got the rules? Understand how this works? Thank you very much. Then let us begin. Alright, our first story this week involves Slysoft out of Antigua. This company was famous for creating software that cracked DVDs, Blu-rays, CDs, a lot of DRM encryption schemes. Well, they are out of business after 13 years. They put a note on their site saying they are closing due to regulatory practices, and these guys have been at the center of a lot of international stuff. The U.S. Trade Representative called them a problem site. The RIAA, MPAA, and others, including the various encryption organizations, have also been targeting for that time, and yet due to the laws of Antigua, they've been able to operate. Well, now apparently that is no longer the case. It's not clear exactly what regulations changed. They've said that they can't say much, but they are no more. Our next story this week looks at the RIAA and MP3 Skull. MP3 Skull, a site that basically links and lets you search for MP3s to stream and download. MP3 Skull has now had a $22 million default judgment filed against them. Basically, the record labels filed a lawsuit against them. The RIAA and the courts attempted to contact the owners of the site, but pretty much failed. They never appeared in court to defend themselves, so now, almost a year after the lawsuit was filed, the court has filed a default judgment. Now, the $22 million, obviously that's going to be nearly impossible to collect, but what is useful in this default judgment is an injunction, which basically record labels will be able to take to domain operators, web hosts, anyone else who is working with them, and order them to stop. So that is where this lawsuit is really heading right now. Unclear as to what the next steps for the record labels are in this case. Also in this week, the real-life inspiration for the movie Rocky, Chuck Wepner, is filing a lawsuit against a former business partner, alleging that this partner, named Mary Allo, is taking elements of his life story and confidential information and is using it to create a new film. Now, this isn't directly a copyright case, but it's interesting and it's very, very copyright adjacent. The issue here is simple. Allo was hired by Wepner and by other people around him to sort of obtain financing for a film about his life, about his real life, not the fictionalized one we saw in Rocky. Allo apparently didn't succeed. There was some conflict there. Long story short, Wepner got the money on his own. His movie's moving forward, but Allo apparently is moving forward with a very similar story with a different group of people, and that is why Wepner is suing. This is going to be a case to watch. ForShared has won a case in South Korea and will be removed from the country's piracy blacklist. This one's actually very, very interesting because the site, which is one of the largest cyber loggers out there, was placed on the piracy block list, meaning that people within the country could not access it. They sued, and they have successfully demonstrated to the court that they do enough to not warrant being on that list. They will be removed from it, and people within South Korea will be able to resume accessing it. And actually, this is pretty interesting, because one of the things ForShared talks about is its fingerprinting scheme by which it, for audio content, it lists audio content specifically, will identify files once they've been received a copyright notice for them and not allow them to be re-uploaded. So ForShared is doing at least enough in the eyes of the South Korean courts to be removed from the piracy watch list. Okay, a Star Trek fan film, Axanar, is hitting back at a lawsuit against them. Now, Axanar, if you'll remember, started out as a short film, which didn't generate much of a response from Paramount and CBS, and then they went to Kickstarter Indiegogo, raised over $1.1 million to produce a feature-length Star Trek film, And then when they got into pre-production and that, CBS and Paramount filed a lawsuit. Now, there's a lot of confusion here. Like I said, they didn't do anything about the little mini-film, but they also have a Star Trek Continues fan TV series that's ongoing. So yes, there's a little confusion here and a little of inconsistency in CBS and Paramount's policies. Nonetheless, CBS and Paramount did sue. And now the producers of that film are hitting back. They are asking CBS specifically what copyrights are being infringed and how. And that may be kind of difficult since Axanar is not a finished film. But still, fairly standard stuff, seeking dismissal of the lawsuit and seeking clarification as to what's being infringed. That's all that's going on at this time. Now, I set aside extra time for this one. I knew this was going to take a minute. Alright, ASCAP and BMI are performing rights organizations known as PROs. Now, those organizations provide licenses to like restaurants, bars, and any other place that's going to publicly perform music. Okay, they operate under a consent decree by the Department of Justice, basically going way, way back. They did some unscrupulous stuff. The Department of Justice stepped in, said, you guys are effectively a monopoly. Here's your consent decree. All right. Well, the Department of Justice is wanting to amend that consent decree so that every PRO, both the two PROs, ASCAP and BMI, will basically have what's known as 100% licensing. Currently, it's possible if a song has multiple authors that each PRO will only have part of the right to license it. So you'll need both or all or even 3 or 4, in some case, PROs in order to license a single song. They want to make it so that if you license even more, 5% or more with one PRO, you have the right to play that song. Well, the U.S. Copyright Office has stepped in and said, wait a minute, that potentially violates the rights of certain foreign copyright holders who are not bound by U.S. laws, and also it's going to hurt the marketplace because smaller and newer PRs like CSAC and Global Music Rights could be put out of business by this. So, very interesting debate going on in trying to streamline music licensing. And finally, this week, Popcorn Time, or at least the main fork of it, is back online. Now, Popcorn Time, of course, is well known as the Netflix for pirates. It is the service that makes it super easy and super trivial to stream movies via BitTorrent. They were shuttered some time ago, back in November, I believe it was. But since they were an open source project, other forks of it sort of carry the torch forward. Well, now that main original one is back online. However, the developers of it said they will just be doing maintenance of it. They will not actively be developing it. Instead, I guess the other Popcorn Time forks will have to take that lead. Instead, they will just be doing maintenance, and they'll be spending their time on a legal alternative known as Butter, even though they'll, I guess, still be continuing to support and maintain the illegal version, if you will. Well, there you go. We actually finished it up with a couple seconds left, and I think we got through everything pretty well. As usual, everyone, I appreciate your time and attention, and like I said, I hope you gained something from this very, very brief 7-minute recap. As usual, all caveats apply. Do not expect thoroughness. I am not a lawyer. Hit the gym. Delete Facebook, any other disclaimers you want thrown out there, feel free. But on that note, everyone, once again, my name is Jonathan Bailey from Plagiarism Today, and I will see you guys next time.